Bismillahirrahmanirrahim and Assalamualaikum to our beloved lecturer Dr. Marina Munira binti Abdul Muttalib as our lecturer for subject Philosophy of Religion, and to all our friends. We are from K82 and inshallah in this video we would like to present about the arguments of John Hick in pluralism. Our group are consisting 4 members, which is me, Nur Akilah binti Muhammad Nazri, with number matric 1192778, Nur Sakinah binti Mat Zamri, Nur Syuhada binti Rosidi, and Nurul Zahidah binti Rohazi. First, we go to our introduction. According to Haslina Ibrahim, pluralism is to carry the assumptions that all religions have an equal position in terms of belief and belief in God. Although they associate gods by committing shirk, they claim the source of their concept of divinity is one. It also has the principle that truth exists in all religions. Proponents of pluralism generally assume that every prophet and apostle have a different religion. Therefore, all these religions are considered valid and true. The emergence of religious pluralism in the 23rd century in the Western world is factored by the scenario of bloodshed taking place in this world, which stems from an exclusive attitude in claim the truth. Based on the assumption, many Western thinkers and theologians support the understanding that religious pluralism is the only way out in dealing with the hostility and intolerance of religious communities. Pluralism is a religious ideology that originated in the West and was introduced by John Hick in his writing entitled An Interpretation of Religion, Human Resource to the Transcendence. John Hick was a Western thinker who pioneered the ideology of religious pluralism. John Hick says that all religions are equal, true, and acceptable. He argues that the purpose of all religions is same, that distinguishing religions is only the way to achieve the purpose. Also, John Hick says no one can claim only their religion is true because all religions worship God and that thing is right and same in all religions. So, in this study, we will explain further about the arguments of John Hick in pluralism. Among the objectives to be discussed in this study are the biography of John Hick talk about pluralism, and the pluralism of religion according to Islamic perspective. Next, our problem statement. This study is conducted to discover the arguments of John Hick in pluralism. Research on this title is important because it gives exposure to the public about pluralism. According to Muhammad Ghazali and Wan Ali 2021, the first issues that arises is the issues of religious freedom, which is the issues most fought by those who understand pluralism. This freedom of religion is not just an issue, but it is a policy that is the backbone for this understanding of religious pluralism. Definition of religious pluralism will be different according to the individual, whether they accept or reject. For those who accept the concept of religious pluralism, they define religious pluralism with the meaning of religious diversity or religious plurality, interfaith dialogue, and religious tolerance. While for those who reject, they define religious pluralism by accepting the truth of other religions. In these studies, we will identify the biography of John Hick, describe the John Hick talks about pluralism, and analyze the pluralism of religion according to Islamic perspective. Research question. To meet the objective of the study, the following research question will be used to frame this study. First, what is the biography of John Hick? Second, what does John Hick think about pluralism? Third, what is the pluralism of religion according to Islamic perspective? Research objective. The following objectives for this study are: First, to identify the biography of John Hick. Second, to describe the John Hick thoughts about pluralism. And third, to analyze the pluralism of religion according to Islamic perspective. Scope of study. This study is related to the arguments of John Hick in pluralism. We will focus on the biography of John Hick. Moreover, this study will describe the John Hick thoughts about pluralism and also analyze the pluralism of religion according to Islamic perspective. Research methodology is defined as the general approach the researcher takes in carrying out the research project. For this study, we will use qualitative data through a secondary source. Secondary source provides second-hand information and commentary from other researchers. Examples include journal article reviews and academic books. Applicable and trustworthy websites are also visited to complete this study.
My name is Nusakina Zamri and my metric number is 1191813. We move to the first objective, which is the biography of John Hick. His full name is John Hick. On January 20, 1922, he was born in Scarborough, Yorkshire. He was an avid attendee on the Anglican Church every weekend when he was a child. This routine and learning was quite boring for him. However, this did not dampen his desire to learn. He became interested in philosophy and theology through the books he read when he was 18 years old. From an academic standpoint, he initially continued his study in law, but his dream was dashed when World War II broke out. However, when he was in law studies, he felt the religious consciousness in Christianity was very firmly established in evangelical fundamentalism during his first year of law school. He has taught philosophy at Prestigious University from 1967 to 1982. He was the Wood Professor of Theology at the University of Birmingham. He returned to Birmingham after retiring as the Danford Professor of Philosophy of Religion at Claremont Graduate University in California in 1992, where he lived until his death. He began to connect with other religions such as Islam, Sikhism, Hinduism after that. In fact, he had the opportunity to visit various places of worship in order to broaden his religious awareness. Since then, John Hick has begun to develop his thinking on religion and apply them in academic writing. Hick was a pioneer of the global approach to philosophy of religion along with Nina Smart, who also taught in Birmingham. In the contribution, John Hick is a talented book author. He has also produced such books like Faith and Knowledge, Philosophy and Religion, Evil and the God of Love, The Argument for the Existence of God, and others famous books.
Assalamualaikum warahmatullahi wabarakatuh. My name is Nur Syuhada binti Rasidi and my metric number is 1192773. As we can see, the pluralist position put forward by John Hick has been one of the most important and influential philosophical approach to religious pluralism. It got a lot of praise and criticism from various quarters. Therefore, there are several key features of his argument that can be put forward in this discussion. Next, he began his thinking that the world still value with respect to religion. This is because no epistemological barrier exists to interpreting the word from the point of view of one religion alone. And subsequently, according to the study of Ibrahim, based on his view of the concept of salvation, he challenged that the understanding of the doctrine of salvation in Christian theology be re-evaluated. And the last one, on the other hand, John Hick wants us to believe that the Trinity of Christian, the multiple idols of Hindus and the Muslim are equally valid and true. He believed that all religions are responses to cultural conditions regarding the same ultimate reality. And that's all from me. Thank you.
Bismillahirrahmanirrahim. Assalamualaikum warahmatullahi wabarakatuh. My name is Nurul Zaida Razi. My metric number is 1192774. So now I'm going to analyze the pluralism of religion according to the Islamic perspective. So, religious pluralism is a term that refers to the ideology that equates all religions in the sense that the truth exists in all religions and salvation can be achieved through any religion. So, some Muslim remains perplexed by the distinction between religious plurality and religious pluralism. So, religious plurality refers to the fact that there are many different religions in the world. In fact, plurality is a provision of God or Sunnatullah, and thus it cannot be denied. So, whereas religious pluralism refers to one perspective, ideas, attitude, and stances on the reality of diversity and the facts of such differences. So, according to Glock and Stark, measuring the religiosity of a person or community, which is ummah, on any religion is difficult because other factors must be considered, such as membership, belief in religious doctrine, ethics and morality, views and ways of life. Religious pluralism also does not mean religious tolerance. Islam is a tolerant religion that instills tolerance in its followers from the start. So in fact, religious tolerance is completely acceptable in Islam. When the teaching of Islamic tolerance are linked to the religious pluralism, it is assumed that Islam is a religion that teaches the equality of all religions, while the pluralist figure deny that religious tolerance is the same as a religious pluralism. So, when discussing pluralism in Islamic context, it is critical to define the term precisely. Pluralism can have two distinct meanings. In sociology, social pluralism refers to a society that is multi-faiths or multicultural mosaic. So, generally speaking, Murtaza Mordahari has expressed his view on religious pluralism. Briefly, he expressed that the widely held belief among Muslim theologians and philosophers that Islam is the only true path. So therefore, Allah Subhanahu wa Ta'ala give us guidance through His prophets and messenger as the regulator of the monetary mechanism, so that hegemony between fellow humans being does not occur. So some Muslim intellectuals argue that Islam does not refer to the religion founded by Prophet Muhammad, peace be upon him, in the 7th century. They claim it means Islam or submission to God via any of the Abrahamic religion. So, in the Islamic worldview, Allah sent many prophets and messengers to guide mankind. Allah Almighty say in the Al-Quran, Surah Al-Baqarah, chapter 2, verse 213. So, Islam is undeniable a universal religion which is alamiah. So, Allah Subhanahu wa Ta'ala revealed it to all mankind without distinction between men and women, white or dark-skinned people, Arabs and non-Arabs, and so on. Islam never encouraged asabiyah or racism, and it allows Muslim and non-Muslim to coexist in peace and happiness in the same homeland. But in certain contexts, it is also Allah who determines His path, which is Sharia, and the different ways, which is manhaj. This clearly shows us that the meaning of Rasulullah SAW as the bearer of blessing for all the world does not mean calling for religious pluralism. So next, religious tolerance is not synonymous with religious pluralism. Islam is a tolerant religion that instills tolerance in its followers from the start. In fact, religious tolerance is completely acceptable in Islam. What is problematic is when the teaching of Islamic tolerance are linked to religion pluralism. It is assumed that Islam is a religion that teaches the equality of all religions. So the decision of the 74th Muzakarah Jawatankuasa Fatwa Majlis Kebangsaan Hal Ehwal Agama Islam Malaysia on the liberal thought movement, which contain different ideologies including the concept of pluralism, which is classified as one of the deviant and misleading doctrine, on the 25 until 27 July 2006. According to Muzakarah, religion pluralism is a concept that holds that each religion has its own concept, perceptions, and response to the ultimate reality, implying that all religions are equal in relation to the supreme reality. That's all from me. Thank you.
Finally, we go to conclusion and suggestion. In conclusion, the religious pluralism brought by John Hick, who say that all religions are equally good and equally true, is contrary to the teachings of Islam. For example, in Islam, Tawhid asserting that there is one true God. The Quran describes the name of that God is true, his attributes of his power and majesty. Revelation revealed by Allah SWT gives a clear picture of the reality of truth in religion. Why? Pluralism talks about different realities and different gods, but it is recognized as the same fact, the same God. It is an aggression when one says that God who is worshipped in these different religions is the same God. The teachings of Islam are the only ones that are true and accepted by Allah based on Surah Ali Imran verses 18:5. The translation: whoever seeks a way other than Islam, it will never be accepted from them, and in the hereafter they will be among the losers. Through these studies, several suggestions are put forward to ensure that Muslims are not influenced by the teachings of pluralism brought by John Hick. Firstly, to fully understand the creed, faith, and Sufism organized by the Ahli Sunnah wal Jama'ah ideology. When we already know and understand what the true characteristic of Ahli Sunnah wal Jama'ah, there is certainly no problem in facing threats from the enemies of Islam who are always trying to confuse us. Secondly, provide encouragement to participate in seminars, public talks, and others to explain the danger of pluralism. Institutions in Malaysia play a role in organizing programs that are seen to be effective in discussing current issues, particularly related to faith. In this way, students will have the opportunity to add to their knowledge of pluralism. Finally, carrying out dawah campaign or hosting awareness seasons for people at all levels of society is one of the ways to prevent the spread of pluralism. Dawah is the responsibility of all Muslim communities to preserve stability and prosperity, particularly in these multiracial countries. Thus, the Muslim community's engagement is critical in conveying the message through the approach employed in the Quran to confront the problem of pluralism in our culture today. So that's all from us. Thank you.